master's degree from the College of Education. My daughter Amy here tonight is a PK Young Lifer. So I guess she has a high school degree from the University. So imagine this, a country farm girl, number 11 of 15 children, growing up in a small southern rural community. At that time we were known as colored, and we were referred to that way. Segregated schools and all the social and community activities were segregated. What was different for me? Well, my father was a pastor, a farmer, and a school bus driver. And my mother was a homemaker and our first teacher. She actually did some home teaching, so home school teaching is not new. Families were doing that all the time. My mother, a homemaker, instilled in us that they wanted us to do our very best every day, no matter what it is or what it was that we were doing. No matter what the task, do your best, great or small, do it well or not at all. So we did a lot of going beyond the farm. Wherever my parents and older siblings were on their way to, guess what? The smaller children went too. And certainly I had an opportunity to experience some things that perhaps other farm families did not, because my father drove the school bus and because he was a pastor. That's really how I got my interest in nursing. I visited the hospitals with my father and mother as they visited sick persons at the hospital. And I remember the first African-American nurse that I met. I even remember her name. Her name was Evelyn. She was a diploma graduate from Brewster Hospital in Jacksonville. And I tell you, she was good looking, she was pleasing to the eye, but she really set the standard. Her red insert into her blue cape, her white shoes and her white uniform and her cap. She was hired at the hospital in Live Oak, but she didn't stay very long. Do you know why she didn't stay very long? I was just a little girl, and so I wasn't even allowed on the floors. As you are able to go on the floors these days, no, we had to sit in the waiting room or stay outside in our cars. But she was only there a few weeks, maybe a month at the most, because they didn't want her there, and neither would they give her the respect. But I just remember that I wanted to be a nurse. Now, what really triggered my interest in nursing was that when I was in 10th grade, my brother right under me became ill and needed to go to the hospital. And he was very, very ill, to the extent that he was swollen. And my parents asked the doctor to allow him to come to the University of Florida that had just opened, maybe 5 years. And the doctor refused to release him. And the sister that I ended up living with when I went away to college, or to Hampton Junior College, and her husband were teachers, young teachers right out of college. And so they said to my parents, if he does not release him, we will take him and drive him to Gainesville. Well, by this time I'm 15 and I can go in the hospital room, right? So my job was to stay at the hospital in the afternoon until my father and mother could get home, because he was a school bus driver. And so after about 7 days of my observation that nothing was being done for the colored patients, I was in the room, I was in a ward, and so I became the little nurse for that particular ward. And so when he came to Gainesville, he was so sick. If he had stayed another couple of days, he probably would have died. But what I remember about this trip to Gainesville to visit him in the hospital is that I could now go into the hospital and I saw what a difference nursing care could really make. Mm-hmm. So this really impacted me and really solidified my decision to go to nursing school. So upon graduation, I didn't have the money, but my sister and her husband were trying to help me to get into college. And so I applied to Florida A&M, I applied to Bethune, Howard University, and I was accepted at all of those schools. But I didn't have the money to go. And so my sister and her husband were moving to Ocala. They had a community college. A community college at that time was coming into being, and they were called junior colleges. And so I moved to Ocala with them. Now, it's not uncommon in a large family that the older siblings would take care of the younger siblings. And so I spent 2 years in Ocala at the community college. I'm probably going to leave those papers. And at the beginning of my 4th semester, the president called me into his office and said to me, the University of Florida are looking for persons who would like to attend the University of Florida. And I know that you're interested in nursing, and I know that you want to go to Tuskegee Institute. But I was wondering if you would consider going to the University of Florida. And so I said, well, it's not my first choice, but I know here I will have the National Defense Loan, and I could get work study. And so I did. And so about the middle of that semester, 3 others and I got into a Volkswagen that belonged to a friend of ours, and we came over to the University of Florida. They went up on campus, and I went to the College of Nursing. I was interviewed by Dean Smith and Dean Knowles, the assistant dean. I was extended an invitation. I said, well, where would I live? They said, we'll help you get housing. Well, I want you to know that was the first promise that was broken. But however, I had the funds to come, even though they were loans. A friend of mine at Hampton, who happened to be an older student and who was already a nursing assistant, who worked at a Louisville General, by the way. She said, I know a gentleman who just added a room onto his house and is close to the university, and my family lives in Raleigh, which is out beyond Williston, and maybe we can stay with him. He has a little apartment that is attached or built onto his house. And so that's where we stayed, the 2 of us. So I thought to myself, well, I know I've never been in an integrated situation in school, but these are persons that I'm familiar with, and we've studied together in science, in chemistry, in biology, and my other classes at Hampton. So this would be a good support group for me, right? So we found a place to stay, and we ended up coming to the University of Florida, the 4 of us from Hampton. And the 2 gentlemen were biology majors on their way to med school. And Bertha and I were nursing on our way to nursing school. At the end of the 1st semester, my support was leaving. I was left just to be. Now there were 5 of us who entered nursing that same time. One was already an LPN and on his 2nd marriage with a baby on the way. Another was married and had 3 children. Another was just like I was, but she was from La Crosse, so she had family support. I knew no one in Gainesville. So I asked the gentleman that I was staying with after that 1st semester, where would you recommend that I go to church? Now, I have visited some other churches, but I had no transportation. And so I most times went home on the weekend with Bertha because living right there in Raleigh, they were going and coming. I wanted to try to remember the restaurant where her auntie worked because even at that time, here I am, a nursing student, and her niece a nursing student. we still had to go to the back of the restaurant for a hamburger. And her family, 3 members of her family was working there. So that's the climate. I remember the first day that we went to the College of Nursing, I remember thinking, how will I go down this hill and come up to this big building and find my way to get what I need? I wasn't afraid of relationships or being in the presence of the white, because I worked with them growing up on the farm. We worked with whites. And so that was not my issue. I didn't think anything was happening. And so when I took my first skills class, of the students that were there, they divided us in groups of 8. They put the 5 of us in different groups. Not one of us had another to be in the group with us. What do you think when it was time for me to demonstrate how to give an injection or a bath happened to me? Well, 6 had paired off. One who didn't want to be my partner ended up being my partner. You know what happened? I had to end up showing her how to give a bath and also how to give a shot, how to give an injection. And one day I was in skills class, and one of the students asked me, what does your washcloth look like when you take a bath? Well, I'm kind of flip at the mouth. And so I said, my washcloth looks just like your washcloth when you take a bath. She said, it's not black. I said, it's yours. And so those are the kinds of experiences that met me when I came to the University of Florida College of Nursing. I had this notion in my mind that because I had been invited by the dean and the assistant dean, that things would be a little different, only to realize that I was there because they needed and wanted the federal money. So I was a tool. I was a means to an end for them. So by the end of the first year, at the end of the first semester, of these 5 nursing students, 2 had dropped off. One had nothing to do with me because she was married and she was worried about how she was going to hang. So the middle semester, she dropped out. And the gentleman never did spend any time with us because he was busy with family life. And I was being rejected by my peers. And so I got to the end of the year. I had taken microbiology and I had taken nutrition. I passed nutrition with a C. I didn't pass microbiology. I got a D. I passed it. I got a D. But the professor told me then, you may pass lab, but you won't pass lecture. So I was crying, and I told my parents, I said, they really don't want me there. Why do I have to stay? My mother said, Marie, what you gonna do? I said, I'm coming home. She said, to do what? I said, well, I'll eventually be able to get a job. She said, I don't think so. There's nothing here for you. My daddy said, Grandma, the girl needs to leave the University of Florida. Now, this is a man who was the NAACP president. And our cousin had already been killed down in Mims, Florida, for his work with NAACP and voters registration. Harry T. Moore and Harriet Moore in 51. I was only 6. And so Mama said, have they hit you? I said, no, ma'am. She said, did you make it through this first year? I said, yes, ma'am. I said, but I'm on probation. She said, well, you won't be on probation again. I said, Mama, how do you know? I said, I don't have the money. I cannot continue to do work study because it interferes with the amount of time that I need to study. And not only that, I'm living all the way beyond University Avenue and 13th Street over off of 5th Avenue. Now, most of you don't know where that is, but if you had come just 10 years ago, you would have known that Mom's Kitchen was over there, and many African American students, and white for that matter, ate over in that area. So, she said, this is what she said. If you watch Gator Tales, you'll see it. She said, we're going to plant another field of corn. We're going to give you another tree of pecans. You're going to study. You're going to pray. You're going to church. And you're going to do your very best. And we're going to do the same thing for you. And next semester, you will pass. Well, my next semester, I took Med-Surg. Med-Surg was a third-year course. It was so stressful for me that I passed out one morning on the floor during my labs. By the way, I never had an alarm clock, but I never was late to class. Only one time when there was a power failure was I late. And I walked every day from beyond 5th Avenue down to J. Hillis Miller Health Center. So I passed out on the floor. They sent me to the infirmary. They sent me from the infirmary to neurology. I had tests, neurological tests. They ended up saying I had petamol seizures. They put me on Desegregation, which is an upper, in the daytime. And they put me on phenobarbital, which is a seizure medication, in the nighttime. So one day, our instructor was out of place. She had a family. And one of the master's persons gave the lecture. But she noticed that I was not able to stay awake. And she said to me, Evelyn Moore, I want you to remain after class is over. She looked at me and she said, why are you not able to stay awake? And I told her what was going on. I'm sure I began to cry. And she said, she cursed. She said, damn it, what they won't do to get you out of here. She said, don't you worry. Don't take any more, and I will take care of this. Another instance, we were in pairs to do the bath in the morning care for our patient that was assigned to us. And he said to me, no nigger is going to bathe me. I said, fine with me. I stepped out the door. I told my instructor, I said, he said, no nigger is going to bathe him. I said, there's your issue. And so she said, I'll give you another patient. So she assigned us to another patient, and by noon, he was gone. I say all of this, but I want to tell you another little instance. My professor in pediatrics really tested me. Now, pediatrics came after Med-Surg. I'm already tested by them giving me these medicines for petamol seizures. So the next semester, I'm in pediatrics. I'm still doing work study. The work study, the person that's over the floor is a nurse 3. That's the highest level you can go with supervision. And she said I told her, I said, listen, I'm going to have to give up this day, these two days, these 2 8-hour shifts, because one, I don't have transportation to come down here and get out of here at night. And number 2, it's interfering with my studies. She said, I'll see to it that you don't finish college. I said, well, I know what I need to do. So I hope you'll have somebody here because I won't be back. And so in pediatrics, that next morning in rounds, we have to get all of our supplies because in nursing you don't be running all over the place without what you need to do. my instructor, and I do remember her name, but I won't call it, sent me to the cart 3 times, not for my supplies, but for the supplies of my partner. I went the first time, and when she started to say, go and get Susie's other things that she needs, I looked at her and I told her, I said, listen, I have mine. She needs to get up and go get hers, and I'm on my way to see about my patient. Those are the kinds of things that I encountered. And the last one I'm going to tell you about is when I was a senior in my last term before I was to get my degree. I was given 5 cases where the other students were given 3 cases in public health. They gave me the most difficult cases that they had. Patients who had not responded to the care and the request of the public health nurses or students. All of my families responded to me. I didn't have a car. My brother brought me a bicycle. I rode the bicycle out northeast. I borrowed my roommate's car to go out to Arredondo. Y'all know where Arredondo is? Well, let me tell you where it is. It's beyond I-75 before you get to 91st Street, because that's now Gainesville. You know where Cracker Barrel is? All right, it's out there. All of my families responded. Do you know I got a B and a C? I passed every test, but I was not given the grade that I deserved. I went in, I spoke to the instructor, and I said, I thought you might have been different, having come from out west in the state of Washington. I said, but you know what? Y'all have done everything possible to keep me from graduating. I said, but I'm out of here. And because I have a B and a C, I can graduate. I don't have to have an A to graduate. And when I didn't pass my boards the first time, the section that I didn't pass by 1 point was med surg. Why couldn't I remember? I was on dexedrine and phenobarbital. The dean called me in. I have graduated. I at least have a graduate. I have a BS degree now. I may not have my nursing license, but I have a BS degree. The dean called me in and said to me, you are an embarrassment to the College of Nursing. I said, ma'am, I've graduated. And while I didn't pass med surg by 1 point, I said, it was because you all tried to get me out of here. So I'm going back and I'm going to take it. And the bright spot is this, that the psych instructor came to my aid, and I was working psychiatry, and she said, I understand the stress that you're experiencing. It's not that you don't know the information. You studied, and I'm going to help build you up, build your self-confidence. Because if you take this again, you are going to pass it. You only missed by 1 point. But even while I was here, the dean and the assistant dean called me in and invited me to leave and told me I could go to FAMU. I said, I've already been accepted at FAMU. I don't need your help to go to FAMU. Now, I think if I hadn't had that kind of pizzazz, I never would have made it. And if I didn't have faith in God and a praying parents and supportive siblings, I wouldn't have made it. The others didn't make it. Neil Butler did. But I'm going to tell you that it's by the grace of God that he did. Now, I wrote down a few notes, and I know I'm way over my time. Way over my time. But one of the things Dr. Sharon asked us to do, and this is about you at this point. It's not about me. I paved the way for you. I paid the dues that you don't even have any idea. I'm old enough to be your grandmother. I've got grandchildren your age. And so this is not for me, but it is for my grandchildren. And it's for you, my sisters and my brothers. It doesn't matter what color you are. This applies to life. First of all, to the faculty, I want to say you ought to be sensitive to the needs of your students as citizens of the University of Florida, going out into the world to make a difference. And what they learn and how they matriculate here does have an impact that you cause, that you help to make the difference. They will come back and tell you how you help. And they will also tell you what you didn't do that I sure would have appreciated. Now, I took advantage of the opportunities for help that was offered to me. But guess what? None were offered to me. The persons who helped me was the young man that introduced me to my husband, who happened to be his friend. He was a med student. He was having the same difficulties as I, except he wouldn't have financial difficulties. The other person was one of the librarians, whose wife happened to be the youth leader at my church. He would make sure that the books that we needed at the reference desk were saved so we could have the material. There were two couples that have become my lifelong friends. They worked as couriers at J. Hillis Miller Health Center Hospital. And I would eat lunch with them at least twice a week. And they would feed me, so to speak. And then there was one nursing assistant. When she found out what was happening with me, she started picking me up in the morning so that I didn't have to walk that lonely road alone. Diversity is important for us to understand the diverseness of this university. And I would challenge you that there should be workshops and seminars and group discussions and activities to help those at this university. The students need to know that they are valuable, because acceptance brings balance to relationships. Students, this is what I want to say to you. Be willing to accept the help that is available to you. There's a lot of help that's available to you all that was never available to the first of us. But it's available to you. It matters not what color you are or whether you're the only one in the group. You go and act like you got all minds running in your backyard. Why? Because it's yours. We paid the taxes. Your parents pay taxes. It doesn't matter whether you came here on a scholarship or whether you're on loans. It matters what you do with your opportunity that is presented to you. Do your best, great or small. Do it well or not at all. Be convinced as to why you're here. Mama said, Marie, you went to the University of Florida to get a nursing degree? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, you're going to stay there and get it. Now, that's how my mama talked to me. And guess what? I'm so glad I listened to her. You may have to make some hard choices. Something and some people got to go because they are not in your favor. Find a group that you can study, serve, and be energized in and through. This may take some time because it's a process of elimination, but beware that small groups are generally better as you begin the process. If you're not in a small group yet, find one and get in it. You may have to experiment around. Kind of know what your interests are. Determined to grow through your studies. Take some electives that will enhance your major and your life skills. They offer them here at the university, many of them. It helps with maturity and being responsible, mature individuals. If you need to work, don't be afraid to work. some of the best people that I met while I was working in work study. And believe it or not, I still remember their names. Why? I remember how they made me feel. Volunteer, become a mentor, tutor, do something to enhance who you are and what you have to give. Each one of you have something to give and something to offer. You will never know just how it will enhance who you are until you try. Decide how you will respond to the many stimuli, especially if the situation presents itself more than one time. There's a lot of stimuli at the University of Florida. This is a big C. When I came, there were only about 17,000 students. Now it's about 57,000 students. That's a lot of stimulation. Anything you can desire to get in is basically here at the University of Florida. But choose well. And then basically, respect yourself. Set a high standard for yourself. Respect others. If you respect yourself and respect others, others will respect you. And the last thing I want to say to many of you that's looking in my face is that you teach others how to treat you. Mm-hmm. You teach others how to treat you. The reason why I believe I made it was God's grace and His mercy and those that I was in their presence and who encouraged me day to day. And if I didn't have anybody who spoke to me during 1 week, I went to church and I found somebody who would speak to me. Find what you need. It's out there. That's my